Ethan graduated top of his class. He got into a great university, landed a six-figure job by 28, and reads 2 books a month. Ask him to explain compound interest, and he'll nail it in under a minute. Ask him about diversification, tax-advantaged accounts, or market cycles, and he'll talk circles around most financial advisors. And yet, at 34, Ethan has almost nothing saved. Not because he's careless, not because he doesn't understand money. He understands it better than most people ever will. But understanding money and actually managing it turn out to be two completely different skills. And that gap, the space between knowing and doing, is where even brilliant people quietly lose years of their financial life. Here's the strange part. If you asked Ethan what his biggest financial mistake was, he wouldn't be able to name one. There was no dramatic bad investment, no huge blow-up, no single moment he could point to and say, that's where it went wrong. Instead, there were 1,000 small, reasonable-sounding decisions that felt harmless in the moment. And that's exactly what makes this kind of mistake so dangerous. It doesn't feel like a mistake while it's happening.
It feels like normal life. So let's talk about what's actually going on, because this isn't really a story about Ethan. It's a story about a blind spot that smart, capable, hardworking people carry around without ever noticing it. Most people assume financial failure looks like ignorance. They picture someone who never learned how a credit card works, or someone who's never heard of a retirement account. That's the story we've been told, that money problems come from not knowing enough. But talk to enough high earners, enough people with MBAs and engineering degrees and six-figure salaries, and you'll find a different pattern entirely. Their problem was never information. They had all the information. Their problem was that knowledge doesn't automatically turn into behavior. Think about it like fitness. A personal trainer knows exactly what a calorie deficit is. He can explain macronutrients in his sleep. That doesn't mean he never overeats on a Friday night. Knowing the mechanism doesn't switch off the impulse. Money works the same way. Ethan knew intellectually that spending less than you earn is the foundation of building wealth. Knowing that didn't stop him from upgrading his apartment the moment his salary jumped. It didn't stop him from feeling like he deserved a nicer car after a rough year at work. Intelligence gave him the vocabulary to justify his choices, not immunity from making them. This is the first mistake smart people miss. They assume that because they understand the math will simply take care of itself. It won't, because financial decisions aren't made in the calm, logical part of the brain. They're made in the emotional part, the part that responds to stress, comparison, identity, and mood. And no amount of book knowledge fully overrides that. Let's break down exactly how this plays out, step by step, because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. The first trap is what we can call the upgrade reflex. Every time Ethan's income increased, his lifestyle expanded to match it almost instantly. A raise meant a better apartment. A bonus meant a new laptop, then new furniture to match the new apartment. On paper, none of these purchases were irrational. Each one individually made sense. He could afford it, it fit his budget, it even felt responsible, since he wasn't going into debt for any of it. But here's what nobody tells you. The danger isn't in any single purchase. It's in the pattern. Because his expenses kept rising at almost the exact same rate as his income, the gap between what he earned and what he saved never actually grew. He was making more money every year and somehow still living paycheck to paycheck in spirit, even with a healthy salary.
Financial psychologists call this the treadmill effect. You keep running faster, but you never actually move forward because the ground beneath you is moving at the same speed. The second trap is subtler, and this is the one that catches even more intelligent people off guard: mental accounting. This is the tendency to treat money differently depending on where it came from, even though a dollar is a dollar, no matter its origin. Ethan would never blow $400 from his paycheck on a spontaneous weekend trip. That money felt serious. But a $400 bonus? That felt like free money, meant to be spent, almost like it wasn't really his. Logically, this makes no sense. $400 is $400, whether it arrived through a paycheck or a bonus or a tax refund. But our brains don't experience money logically. They experience it emotionally, based on the story we tell ourselves about where it came from.
This is why bonuses, tax refunds, and cash gifts disappear so much faster than regular income. They feel like windfalls, not wealth. And smart people fall for this just as easily as anyone else. Because the trick isn't about intelligence, it's about how the brain is wired to categorize money based on feeling, not fact. The third trap is the comparison trap. And this one is almost invisible because it doesn't feel like comparison at all. It feels like ambition. Ethan didn't wake up thinking, I want to impress my coworkers. He just noticed that his colleague drove a nicer car, and suddenly his own car felt a little embarrassing. He noticed a friend's home renovation photos on social media, and his own apartment suddenly felt outdated. None of this registered consciously as competition. It just quietly recalibrated what felt normal. This is called the reference point effect. We don't judge our financial situation in isolation. We judge it relative to the people around us. And in the age of social media, the people around us isn't just our neighborhood anymore. It's a curated highlight reel of thousands of people's best financial moments, stitched together into a constant, invisible pressure to keep up. Smart people are not immune to this. If anything, ambitious, high-achieving people are more susceptible because their entire identity is often built around performing well relative to others.
So here's the deeper insight tying all of this together. The real reason smart people miss these mistakes isn't a lack of financial knowledge. It's that they mistake understanding a concept for having installed a habit. Ethan could explain compound interest perfectly, but explaining something and living by it are two completely different muscles. One lives in the mind, the other lives in daily behavior, repeated automatically, almost without thinking. Wealth isn't built by the people who understand the most financial theory. It's built by the people who've made their good financial decisions automatic, so they don't have to rely on willpower or intelligence in the moment temptation shows up. Because willpower is unreliable. It's strong on a good day and weak on a stressful one. But automatic systems don't care how your day went. They just run. This is why the wealthiest people you'll meet are rarely the smartest people in the room. They're usually the most consistent people in the room. They've built systems, not just knowledge. A portion of every paycheck moves into savings before they ever see it. Their spending has ceilings that don't move every time their income moves. Their major financial decisions were made once, in a calm moment, rather than repeatedly, in 100 small emotional moments. So, what does this actually mean for you, practically? First, stop trying to out-willpower your own psychology. You will lose that fight eventually, no matter how disciplined you think you are. Instead, build automatic systems. Set up an automatic transfer to savings or investments the moment your paycheck arrives, before that money ever touches your checking account and starts feeling spendable. Second, treat all income the same, regardless of where it came from. A bonus is not extra. A tax refund is not free. Give every dollar the same respect you'd give your regular paycheck, and you'll stop leaking money through the mental accounting trap. Third, decouple your lifestyle from your income growth. When you get a raise, let your savings rate increase before your spending does. You don't need to live like you're broke. You just need a small, deliberate gap between what you earn and what you spend. One that grows every time your income grows, instead of staying the same size forever. And finally, get honest about comparison. Notice when your spending decisions are actually a response to someone else's life, rather than your own values. You're not competing with your coworker's car or your friend's renovated kitchen. You're building your own financial future on your own timeline, and nobody else's highlight reel should be steering your bank account. Here's the thought worth sitting with. Ethan's story isn't really about a lack of intelligence. It's about the quiet gap between knowing what's right and building a life that does it automatically. Most people don't fail financially because they don't understand money. They fail because they assume understanding is enough. It never is. The people who build real, lasting wealth aren't necessarily the smartest people in the room. They're the ones who turned a few simple truths into habits so automatic they stopped needing willpower or intelligence to follow them at all. Because in the end, money doesn't respond to how much you know. It responds to what you actually do every single day when nobody's watching and no one's keeping score. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.